Hi, Nolan. My question is, when Nathan Drake found El Dorado, and hypothetically, if there was no curse on it, and he got it back and he became rich and famous, do you think he would still go out adventuring, or would that be his one and done?
But before we get to that, I finished this video before I asked that question, and I haven't changed a thing, so let's find out if I embarrassed myself. Drake is a strange example of an explorer archetype. He's not motivated by historical preservation like Indy or Lara, yet he never comes across as materialistic enough to want a lavish lifestyle from selling his treasures. In fact, whenever he has to choose between morality and money, it's not even a question. He makes the right choice every time without hesitation. This gives him the framing of a scoundrel with a heart of gold, but given how easily he continuously abandons his prize when it's within reach, I don't buy that he has murky motivations to begin with. Instead, I think he's a thrill chaser who lives for the adventure. Consider this. All of the treasures he abandons could still be retrieved with proper excavation. Now, I understand leaving curses like those placed on El Dorado, Shambhala, and Aram of the Pillars buried beneath the earth, but there's nothing stopping him from returning with a corporation to uncover Libertalia. He'd still be richer than you or I could ever conceive and become world famous. But he doesn't. He chooses to leave his wealth buried beneath the earth and to preserve the memory of those places and the adventures he had there. What he actually wants is validation, to feel worthy. In Uncharted 4, when he takes the name Drake, he places upon himself a burden of greatness. He's taken his hero's name and wants to leave behind a legacy worthy of it. There's no glory in bringing a corporation back to Libertalia and unearthing the treasure. That would mire it in bureaucracy and turn messy as everyone grabs for themselves. Again, he would still come out a billionaire, but he wouldn't be sailing back home with the discovery of the century in tow. This is what gives Nathan his true addiction, the moment of historical discovery. Because while he's more than willing to throw away the gold, he will never quit the adventure, even when it's ludicrous to keep going. He's always a lone man up against an army, and he still fights back because he can't let someone else attain the greatness he seeks. This is most clearly seen in Uncharted 4 when Elena confronts Nate about his line and he chooses the quest over his wife. Now, he's operating under false pretenses at this point, but he's spent way more time with Elena than Sam, so something else must be driving him to make the wrong choice here, and it's because he hasn't made that euphoric discovery. Look at his dialogue when he discovers Sir Francis Drake's body in the first game.
He never found it, he just died here. So much for greatness. Wasted his life. For nothing.
He thinks one of the greatest explorers of all time wasted his life and died for nothing because he was a few miles away from the treasure he was obsessed with. Not that Francis Drake didn't find El Dorado and died because of the curse, but specifically because he never had that moment of discovery. For Nathan Drake, greatness isn't measured in wealth or fame, it's measured in that singular, irreplaceable moment when you stand before history and say, I found it. Everything else, the gold, the glory, even the people he loves, becomes secondary to that intoxicating instant of revelation. And that's what makes him not just a treasure hunter, but an addict chasing an emotional high that no amount of money can buy. But that's just my interpretation. Let's ask the man himself.
Yeah, you wouldn't have done. You wouldn't have got any more games. Unless it was like Nathan Drake tanning on the Riviera. Nathan Drake, the yacht. Sully, bring me a cigar. I think I'll start smoking them.
You got it, kid.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's one of the great things is it was a kind of a metaphor for life. It's like, you know, we try for these things, but it's not the goal. It's the adventure that you remember. That's so important. It's like you can't take it with you. You know, people ask me, said, hey, how'd you know you were successful? I was successful the day I said I'm going to try this, just to be an actor. Not that I had a lot of options. I'm not very good at much, but you know, I think there's people say, when did you know you're successful? Like, am I? It's like, you know, what's your favorite job? The next one? It's the doing. It's the success is in the doing. It's not a destination, and I think that's. You know, the biggest reward from playing Nathan Drake is that I've traveled the world now more than Nathan Drake because of Nathan Drake. And I was a little kid. We didn't grow up. I didn't have much growing up, and I was like, I used to look at. I was a weird kid. I'd look at like, you know, old Life magazines, and I'd look at maps and stuff. And I'm like, I'd like to see these places. And we never went anywhere. Now I go to too many places. But you know, it's so I enjoy the adventure of those things and just experiencing stuff. So yeah, I don't know.